asset? Bitcoin is the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best? There is no second best.
Welcome into Discover Crypto, the 2 p.m. crypto rundown. The world is on fire, but our bags might be on fire here in a bit. We have an expert who's been in crypto for maybe too long, even a very pointed warning about Cardano and XRP. We're going to dig into that. A $1.5 trillion fraud investigation that the media refuses to talk about, and the most important levels for Bitcoin to break above. My God, it seems like we're getting denied at the most important zones. We're going to get into all this and more. I got my man Kelly Kellum up on the sticks here. Kelly, how you feeling? Are you feeling refreshed after the holiday?
I'm feeling saucy, baby. The markets, man, it's just trying to absolutely jack with people in both directions. Actually, no, it's not. It's not picking any direction. I just want to throw this chart up here really quick. Throw that chart up there. Price action is just getting pinched. I mean, just look at this. Pinch. Just, it's like whack-a-mole, like we were talking about pre-stream, just whack. Okay. Oh, we tried whack every time. And look at these double trend lines right into this high liquidity zone with all this price action. And this just cannot get itself to break out, but it's feeling like something's got to happen. I did a video the other day, I think it was Friday, about basically what feels like a real institutional trap in the markets. And the reason I say that is because tens of billions of dollars in both directions. There was this sort of gamma split with price action at $90,000, sorry, liquidity at $90,000, another huge amount of liquidity at about $85,000, basically demarking where the ranges that the institutions were playing in. The massive, largest Bitcoin options expiry in history happened Friday as well. And then we had this absolute catastrophe, which we're going to be diving into here in a bit with silver. That's really leaving everybody kind of confounded that there's going to be some fireworks maybe in the traditional finance realm here. And actually, for me, just screams why Bitcoin is so important. So I'm feeling good. I think we got a little bit more time to wait. I think that I'm still more bullish than ever on 2026. So it's the end of the year, baby. I cannot believe we all did it together. Let's go.
Oh, and look, it's a whole year that we weren't in prison, that we didn't have to go to the hospital for some cataclysm, right? This is a good year. Thank God I'm alive. Thank God to have
let's just, we can't recap it all, but 2025 was a year. I mean, it wasn't just a year. This was the year that was a decade, right? I mean, it's just like, if you think about the news cycle, like even I was talking with my mom, she didn't even celebrate Christmas. She said, Kelly, I'm just too exhausted by everything that's happened in 2025. And it's not like,
oh, really?
Catastrophes have happened. It's just more like, if you follow any news cycle, whether you're leaning left or leaning right, just if you're watching the news, like many boomers do, then it's just like, it feels like the world's going to the hell in the handbasket. And then you realize we're living in the safest time in history. We're literally, look at the data. We're living in the safest time in history. We're just more aware of the bad things that are happening. And media out there makes their money on, rage baiting and engagement. So I think we all need to remember, root ourselves in gratitude and family. But I think that's a good way with positivity. Let's start the show off because we got a lot to cover today.
Absolutely. Let's cover our ground. Make sure to follow me at Drew's Crypto. Kelly is at Kelly Kellum on the Twitter right here. Make sure to follow him as well. He's doing he's still rolling the Thursday space coming up this week as well.
I don't know. Last Thursday was Christmas. This Thursday is New Year's Day. So I think it's going to be off. But we will definitely be back with it the following week.
That's a good point. Well, make sure to stay tuned to Kelly's Twitter account. Now let's check out the grander landscape of crypto things. Slightly down on Bitcoin and ETH. XRP slightly down. So everything's basically like down by 0.5%. You have a couple outliers, a little bit of money laundering going on in Zcash right now, a little bit of hardcore hype movement with leverage traders coming in there. And then Leo, pump swallow, everything dumps slightly. So it is what it is. We have a mixed bag on the crypto markets, and this is kind of interesting looking at this. And shout out to everyone that's in the Discord that got in on the injective short. I think is printing. That quant is incredible. Bitcoin straddling the line here, Kelly. And you were just talking about a potential sweep of lower liquidity. Scary times to think about. It's been, I checked out and I wasn't messing with the charts at all holiday. I just left this kind of green buy pressure box zone here at about 87,000 to 87.5. It's bounced off here a few times, right? Last night I was telling my wife, "Oh, I'm getting notifications. Bitcoin hit 90." She's like, "Short it." I'm like, "I'm going to bed. You feel like, I'm going to bed." And she was right. Once again, the price oracle struck. We freaking crashed down 3.5%. In general, I know we've talked about Bitcoin prices quite a bit. It almost feels like, looking at this chart, it feels like we're trapped in purgatory until something big happens to the up or to the downside. And this is a general trend line on the blue here that would take us down and do that lower liquidity sweep at around $83,000. Kelly, what's your general thoughts on where Bitcoin is right now? Because it's like we get one impulse to the upside and it's immediately washed down in the exact same size back down to this freaking buy interest spot. It's straddling the line, and it's a good environment for fast trading, I guess. But what's your general vibe on Bitcoin and the levels that it's fighting right now?
Well, I think it's just prime opportunity for just murder season for institutional players and longer term minded players versus retail. The fear has just been this persistent extreme fear levels. For, all the way since back here, really right about the beginning of November. So for almost 2 months, which is kind of unheard of and what we've seen in in bull markets, even right back here. This was March all the way across to the end of April. This was a V-shaped recovery. We're not getting that yet. So I think right now, when we're looking at the Bitcoin price action, there's pervasive fear that people do not want to round trip themselves. They're tired of buying when everybody's talking about how exciting it is and then having it just absolutely come all the way down and then getting all the way back up to this zone, even here where people are finally excited that the price got back above previous all-time highs, had people bought here and held. Then they have to endure another 7 months of sideways chop and then a scary washout, but only to continue higher. People are scared of this price action. People are scared. You go even further back, looking at 2017, the sell-off. You go back here to 2014, 2013, massive sell-off because of the 4-year cycle fears and what we're seeing, with all these different things that have affected price action this cycle. It's just like, here's the deal, guys. We need to stop explaining why we are upset or excited about the price action and realize the fundamental narrative is going to be the thing that drives this market in 2026. Yeah. That's what's going to prove the breaking of the 4-year cycle, if it is truly broken, which I believe it is. I think you do in some degree as well, Drew. So I think right now, with the extreme fear, with some questions about risk, and oh my God, silver and gold are going parabolic, but MicroStrategy is going down. Everybody's like, I don't know what the hell to look at, but I do see more than anything is when there's max money printing, which is on the horizon, and the Fed and the Treasury and all this money stimulus is coming in the U.S., in addition to China, in addition to Japan, that there's going to be one story about 2026, and that's going to rotate some pretty large big impulses to the upside that's going to upset people that got out around this time frame when they're scared.
Yeah. And you mentioned, is the 4-year cycle broken? I felt it was broken the moment we hit all-time highs so far ahead of schedule. Like, this is not a normal 4-year cycle, and it hasn't been since essentially March of 2024. We skyrocketed, we blasted through into previous all-time highs way ahead of time. And just looking at the dynamics of this market cipher weekly on Bitcoin, these are very, very clean weekly washouts to the downside with a VWAP trigger that moves us up. But the crazy and the scary part for a lot of people is this money flow trying to come back down to the center point there. As things sit, I'm still on my bullish business. We haven't had a double green dot since $19,000 Bitcoin. And the ultimate psyop would be to leave retail on the sidelines as they wait for this full 60, 70% correction from previous all-time highs. And instead, you find your footing up here. Don't give them their previous all-time high entry points and basically continue this staircase up into the right, which is essentially, if you're looking at this from a very backed up perspective without any bias, this looks like a very controlled up into the right movement. And it's kind of in play. What we see with the silver parabola, the gold parabola, all those different things, it shows me that a hyperinflationary storm is coming. It's unavoidable, and we better own assets. That's the moral of the story that I took in from seeing what silver and gold have done, all the metals, all those movements. It really paints that picture that cold storage and actual Bitcoin for long-term holding is going to win. I'm also holding my house. I don't feel like selling the house. I'm just going to sit on it and go get another one, rent it out, and just add that to my asset portfolio. It's in a pretty good demographic. So I've had to do a lot of thinking about this.
Well, I mean, I want to get back to this because 2026, I'm super bullish on what Bitcoin is going to do because of how many fundamental positive changes have happened in the last year and a half, and especially since January of last year. I think the hope around a lot of those, people were expecting more immediately, but at the same time, forgetting the power that institutional players have and the fact that we're rotating a pretty good amount of Bitcoin from super OG players into. So there's been like this great rotation and a fracture of expectation in the market. Now, remember what also happened on October 10th. October 10th, we had this massive washout. And then again, everybody in TradFi that's outside that doesn't like Bitcoin is like, you see, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to kind of, I don't think you were prepared for this, but we're going to get into this now. And that is this right here. Go to my page. This $34 billion. $34 billion was needed to use to stabilize the markets, large in part because of the silver margin call that happened. So this is a traditional finance with some of the oldest metals in the world. They're seeing massive issues with essentially not only a few billion margin called, but also, 30 billion plus in needed federal funds to stabilize that market. So, but you don't see the traditional finance people going, the traditional market is broken. They say, right. Oh, this is just how it happens in the traditional market. So it's terrible if we see the market works as it should when there's a washout like it did on October 10th. And we are all ballers because we take it on the chin. And traditional finance goes, we don't have it. Can you help me, please?
That is a difference.
Fuck you, traditional finance.
They're like 300 to 1 on their margin, right? So they have 300 on paper, 1 in physical holding is what their balance is right now. And to yell at us in crypto for our reserves is absolutely insane. But, we have some new fears that are coming out. We did see Trump media, not Trump himself, but Trump media deposited 560 Bitcoin worth around $50 million to Coinbase in the last 24 hours. These are investors through the ETF that Trump media has rolled out. And honestly, with the uncertainty, they're protecting, they're working with $50 million, right? So you have to have some balance of risk. And this is the crazy thing about us in crypto is this. Crypto bros, when asked if they want to pivot to AI, robotics, or any other promising field, the cage is open. You can fly out anytime you want. Why are you still in there? The cage is all I know. I would... right. But, I love a little bit of diversification. Like I got some nuclear plays. My wife's got some really cool plays in the medical field. Like we're invested all over the place, but crypto has been the thing that's really supercharged my finances in general. You know what I mean? So when I talk about, and we labeled this the expert warning for XRP and Cardano holders, the expert behind the warning, I got some choice words for because a very, very, very colorful background this guy's got. Now, the US dollar, let's talk about the Dixie a little bit. The US dollar is testing 14-year support right now. It's sitting right around like the 97.8 spot. Kelly, have you had a chance to look at the Dixie in recent time? Like, what are your feelings about the Dixie in this support chart?
Well, go to this chart first, and I'm going to tell you why this is informative of the Dixie. 70. Look at this spike. 71% bet now that we're going to have a U.S. bank failure by January 31st. This doesn't mean the entire banking system. This means J.P. Morgan will probably absorb another bank and further conglomerate. Cutting out whatever other bank they choose is not fit, right? But when we look at the dollar. This is important because this has an inverse relationship with risk assets. This breakdown right here, this is when Bitcoin started pumping after that massive fall that we saw from January through April. This the pump that we saw in Bitcoin is, look at this, April 4th, April 5th, April 6th, right here. This is where Bitcoin started pumping, right? So what's interesting about the dollar index right now is that we're kind of been squeezing into this zone. We have an 18-year trend line support, which is going to be pretty remarkable and probably overwhelming fireworks if this does break down. And this goes back to, where was that other one that we just looked at? This right here. If people are worried about banks, if people are worried about what's going on, and you look at what's happening with gold and what's going on with silver and what's going on with other precious metals, that's people investing in a hedge against the system, against dollars. So, and if we get a bank failure, then I do think that would be, Bitcoin starting, I know it's positioned, it's positioned, but on the broader zeitgeist of the world, Bitcoin's starting to become more aware to more people that it is another facet of, digital gold, store of value, the projections, all the things that you're talking about. So this is a very interesting place to be. And people go, how come it's not clear what's happening to Bitcoin? Well, look at the dollar. It's pinching into, what's, over 6 or 8 months of basically deciding factor of if the dollar is about to get a lot stronger or if the dollar is about to get a lot weaker. And when this breaks down, that will be very, very aggressive bullish signs for Bitcoin. If this pushes up, then what does that mean? Risk assets do not do so well. They dump. So we've been in this chop zone of uncertainty for some time, not only on Bitcoin, but we can see it reflected in the confusion in the dollar.
Yeah. With that layout and analysis compared with also how Bitcoin reacted the last time we had bank failures, I think we're going up. So this is March 20th, it's like March 14th, March 20th zone. Bitcoin was at about $22,000 when the SVB bank collapse and kind of that local banking crisis happened in 2023. Bitcoin did pull back momentarily, back down to $19,600. But from there, it went absolutely parabolic. And what you just brought up, Kelly, they're going to be forced to inject liquidity to stop the banks from truly going under. So I can only see that Dixie falling from here. In my personal view, I think it's going down and Bitcoin's going up. That's what I say. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm out here talking about it on the interwebs, and people are going to be listening. They're looking at the situation, wondering, where the hell do I park my money if things are collapsing? If that's where the real driving factor for me to get into crypto originally when Bitcoin was 4K is that the bank wasn't holding my money. It was instead on a cold storage device that was in the form of Bitcoin. And my buying power was essentially in my own hands. And we do have a great channel sponsor, Arculus, which I'm very thankful to have. If you don't have cold storage, you better get it, because in these crazy times, you could see some really, really nasty things happening monetarily. So.
Well, yeah, I just want to clarify something, because it's not just us talking out of our buttholes here. This is how it works. Everybody's talking. We're seeing it. I think it's like 50 plus something $billion has already been injected in the last month, right? The Fed, the Treasury, the buybacks of all this stuff. When they're buying, they're not, for the large part, they're not pulling it out of another account. They're writing into their account like a cheat code on a game. Hey, go ahead and deposit this money over there. That money's coming from nowhere. Well, what happens? We're talking about potential bullishness for Bitcoin and weakness in the dollar. What happens if they continue to print money and inject money into the economy? Well, when the Federal Reserve injects billions into the financial system, like through QE or repos is that stealth QE that we're talking about, it increases the money supply, which generally weakens the US dollar. So it's not us just YouTubers. We want Bitcoin to go up. There's clear evidence as to what is happening now and what that reflects as to what is likely going to be the outcome in markets. And that's one of the reasons why we're seeing massive runs, not only into gold and silver, because that's also a little bit speculative at this point in terms of people hoping for gains, but there's very clear evidence that once that happens, there's a rotation from those that also signifies bullishness in risk assets.
Yeah. And we're not out of the woodwork yet in terms of chaos coming for the year. I did make a note about the yen situation. Japan, it might have to rate hike again to 100 base points at the next meeting. Japan has some of the lowest rates as it is. So rising them to 100 base points, 1%, it sounds cataclysmic, but honestly, like they've kept their rates so low for so very long. This is a little bit of self-protection from the Bank of Japan going on. And, we've seen this. It's been telegraphed since 2024's timeframe when that big unwind happened. I think that a lesson was learned and a lot of de-risking has happened since then. Side note, I got a computer in my water bottle. I'm going to show this off. Look at this thing. Adds hydrogen to the water. I am going off on the gadgets. I'm Inspector Gadget. Coming in after Christmas. I got the 10 mil holster. I got all the good stuff going on.
Well, so. Drew, I wanted to highlight too. You're just talking about Japan and their rates and this and that. We're talking about gold. We're talking about silver. We're trying to figure out what's going to happen with Bitcoin. Well, sometimes you can use other tools like Grok. And remember, some of the biggest buyers that have set up this run on gold and silver have been sovereign buying. Okay. And now remember that sovereign buying. So, hey, Grok, if gold and silver were expecting a large money printing in the future, how would they react prior due to being forward looking? If markets anticipate large scale money printing ahead, gold and silver prices would likely rise in advance. Now, remember back, sovereign bodies like China has been buying metric tons of gold. And they've also been printing trillions there, Japan, the US. So we're seeing the signals of the sovereigns buying. We know that gold and silver is a front runner to money printing. And then you realize, wait, these are all connected. Then you go over here to other risk assets as well. Hey, Grok, how do risk assets usually respond after gold and silver surge? What happens to Bitcoin and crypto historically once they reach a peak? Well, historically, after gold and silver surges, which is what's happening right now, often tied to uncertainty, which is what we are feeling. Risk on assets likely, like stocks and Bitcoin, tend to rally once peaks signal easing fears. So we're getting all the things. And people say to you and me, Drew, how can you guys be bullish? Because we're not. Yes, I'm trading on the 1 minute. Yes, I'm trading on the 15 minute. But that is for a specific trade on a very allocated account. For my forward-looking idea about what my confidence is about where I can project Bitcoin and the crypto is going to go, you look at broader data that impacts the forward-looking aspect of what you think is going to happen based on all signals of the past. And they're all saying we're about to get rippage to the top. So get out your beer and do some sippage because I'm about to keep rhyming because it's about to keep going up double time. And let's go.
I'll pour some yerba mate for that. I see someone's asking for a translate. Not sure how to do that, but I'll figure that out for you after the show. I can't do it live, but I'll look how to do it for you after the show. Now, this is an insane. Speaking of uncertainty, imagine you're a Florida man and you go to an Outback Steakhouse, you sit on the toilet and it breaks beneath you. A Florida man has filed a lawsuit against the Outback Steakhouse, alleging he sustained serious bodily injury after a toilet seat broke beneath him.
He wanted to order a blooming onion, not get a blooming onion.
And this plays into the health contagion here in the U.S. Honestly, if we stopped buying the garbage, they'd stop selling the garbage. It's as simple as that. And where you put your money where your mouth is. My money has been translated to Bitcoin, been translated to cold storage of Bitcoin. I am putting my money where my mouth is. My entire savings and all of my value outside of real estate goes into crypto. I keep fiat on the side to pay for a roof or whatever, which unfortunately I have to do. But for a large portion, I am going after assets, either nuclear energy on the stock market, crypto, all of those different things help me hedge against the guaranteed inflation to our fiat currency. So And within that, I mean, not to mention all the things you just mentioned, Kelly. Now we're seeing that there's 539 child care centers in Washington state that all have Somali primary language. No even street address on most of these. And these all are recipients of emergency bailout money. Now, the major news in Minnesota, according to the Star Tribune, is the snow is intensifying across Minnesota amid the blizzard conditions. But the nasty part is the amount of fraud being going on there. Now, Elon Musk estimates at least $1.5 trillion in annual fraud using taxpayer dollars being funneled through situations like this. This is absolutely insane.
Well, dude, you know what I found?
What?
I found Lil Johnny.
Oh,
This Lil Johnny, and he has a message for us.
Don't let these daycare centers take me in. My name is Little Johnny. Nick Shirley sent me. He said some people still think government funding is good. Don't let these
oh my God, bro. And like, how could we be ignoring this situation? Like, what in the world is going on when the main thing that they're talking about is the weather, when there's $1.5 trillion in likely fraud going on? It also makes you ask the question. You say Minnesota fraud is big. Yes. Arizona fraud, according to DOQ, going to be huge. California will be bigger, but New York is the colossal giant of fraud. The crazy part is they're probably going to find all this fraud and nobody's going to serve any time. That's the aggravating thing. It's not to mention they're taking my tax money and defrauding me using shell organizations labeled as daycares and funneling the money out of the country, right? So this is a salt in the wound situation on many, many different accounts. Chat, do you think that New York is going to be found to be involved with this giant ring of COVID era scam loans with a massive amount of fraud within it? Which is where, because you're from California, you're from New York, aren't you, Kelly?
Well, I'm from Texas. I moved down here I lived in New York for a little over 15 years. And the truth is, and I do want to make something clear, this is not a Democrat issue. This is an issue for both sides of the aisle. I think Elon Musk says it best, and people are starting to realize he got a lot of hate during Doge because he didn't do the 2 trillion. Well, he also didn't have the support of people on both the left and the right to close down those programs. Well, why not? Because those programs are the things that basically pad their pockets in their political endeavors because it's all one big laundering effort that, enriches very few people. The other thing is, you look at, and I'm, again, not hating on a group of people, but if this, you look at the fraud in Minnesota and pretty bad. And if there's a huge amount of Somali population that's doing it, then why is also 81% of the Somali population also living on welfare? Talk about some selfish people within the community that's not giving back to the community while they're stealing money. And so I think it's an issue in probably every jurisdiction, which is the country, that has any government programs. Now, do we need to have no government programs? No, I think we need to have some, but I think we're at the stage now where you either cut every program and build it back from zero, or you have very strict ways for everybody to reapply and actually have some substantive evidence of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what the outcome is from this money that's being given to you. It's taxpayer money,
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good comment. 4-year cycle still intact. Just because your alts haven't blown off doesn't mean it's broken. Reasonable. And this is, the altcoin lack of blow off top makes you look around for other opportunities for money. Maybe Somalian daycares is the move. Ilhan Omar's net worth grew from a negative $45,000 in 2019 to over $30 million.
Dude, her husband's investment firm somehow has it went from zero to $60 billion in assets under management. And I'm talking powerhouse players on the street that have been doing this for decades. They're yeah, we don't know how where that money, where's the seed money for that really? Because he's starting with zero and now he's got $60 billion in assets under management in his VC firm. Liar.
It's so great. And just, we don't hate the media enough, guys. As we're talking about this and the Nick Shirley story, here's all the organizations that aren't covering it: New York Times, CNN, Washington Post, MSNBC, NPR, USA Today, Reuters, Axios, ABC News, and PBS, all have not acknowledged this story yet. So I just had to get it off my chest. I had to get it off because this is monetarily based. We talk about, oh, the government's going insolvent and we have $39 trillion in debt. Well, if we are getting defrauded by nearly $2 trillion in a short amount of time, that needs to be fixed. We want to sit here and be serious about fixing the money in the world. The fraud is absolutely out of control. And I think New York is probably the biggest fraud epicenter in the United States. I just got this gut feeling. California is probably right behind it.
Wendy O reposted this thing the other day that just makes your head spin. This guy had a tax bill of like $250,000. And so he's like, okay, well, he pays it off. $250,000 tax bill. Of course, he's probably making quite a bit of money, but he pays it down and then he pays the total amount. Then he gets a letter from the IRS a few days later. Hey, we're basically going to repossess or, take a lien on your property, on your cars, blah, 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 because there's an unpaid amount. Basically, you get interest on unpaid amount or whatever. And he was not aware of that. You know what the amount was? $3,000. So the IRS is going after somebody for a $3,000 basically interest bill that he didn't even know that he had. And yet they're so on it. And yet we got people running like 5-8 year frauds into billions of dollars. I mean, again, traditional finance, general government, fuck you. I'm getting spiked. It's the end of the year, man.
Hey, it's the vibe that's out there. And, I'm here for it. And really, we try to outpace the inflation. We try to outpace the devaluation of our dollar through these trillions of dollars of fraud through not only Bitcoin, but altcoins, right? And as someone in the chat mentioned, 2025 sucked for altcoins. We got what they call an expert altcoiner here, giving a big warning for XRP and Cardano. Mike Novogratz warns that XRP and Cardano could fade if they fail to deliver real-world utility as crypto shifts away from narrative-driven tokens toward assets with real value and business adaptation or adoption, rather. And Novogratz, you can take this as a grain of salt.
Well, he does have a Luna tattoo.
Yeah, he's a little salty about this. He's a little salty. He got done dirty by Luna, not just financially, but the guy's got a Luna tattoo, or he might have gotten it covered up by now. But this is a guy who's been around altcoins since the get-go, and really, like, something in my heart uncomfortably feels like the narrative and like the just general excitement about top layer ones is kind of fading. And that's why, like, I'm kind of worried about, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit worried about XRP. I'm a little bit worried about Cardano. There are things that Cardano can do in terms of making a more user-friendly interface, right? There's things that we could see from Cardano as far as bringing Bitcoin lending directly through the Cardano system with that movement that I saw earlier.
Well, Cardano's in an interesting place right now. Let's look at the chart, because Cardano, oh my God, is bleeding. This is the 3-day chart, just so you all know, so you get a scope of what I'm looking at here. We've had this sort of run up, sell off, the run up, sell off. But interestingly, we have this descending level of support right here that it's come back to, and also this rising level of support here from all the way back here in October 2023, and then again right here, August 2024, and then here we are again. So if this does lose that area, I think, maybe it's a trap, maybe things are breaking down further, but it's literally right at the crux of the situation right now. If we're going to get a pump on Bitcoin, which it feels like, I actually said it on my X the other day, I think we're going to start seeing a decent move up. I'm not saying back to new all-time highs, but a decent move up in the next about 12 days from now. I said this 2 days ago. I said 14 days. So about within the next week and a half, 2 weeks. And if that's the case, then I think Cardano will also likely move up. If the world just decides to shake the markets about even further with everything going on, maybe a bank collapse, near term, quick washout, then I do think that this can break and wash down a bit further. I'd be looking about 27 cents. Can you believe we're talking about 27-cent Cardano?
It's terrifying, honestly.
But I want to be confident for everybody else. Maybe this holds. It's going to hold. We're going to go back up. But I think you need to be cautious here, because the same thing with XRP. We talked about it up here, likely testing these different ranges. It tested every single one of these. Look at that. If this is lost, the next level down is $1.65. The next level from there is about $1.40. Yeah, so everything's on the razor's edge, and that tends to be when the most people get shaken out.
For sure, and it's like, I want to say the things that can go right for each one of these, like XRP could bolster its DeFi environment, right? We could see DeFi pushed by Ripple. We could see Ripple stop selling XRP every single month. Is it likely? Not really, but these are possibilities. And this is it's very comparable to the .com bubble. It's not that the internet went away after the .com bubble. It's that there was a lot of really, really early companies that had specific niche use cases that, as the advancements with the internet came along, those specific use cases kind of got washed away, right? So it's nothing that, I would say a layer one, I don't want to speak too kindly here, but just being a layer one and trying to make something better doesn't guarantee your success, because advancements will come and they will overshadow what your entire layer one network is supposed to do. That's where the potential in this is. And Chris Larson is quite addicted to the so
well, and just to make people remember, if you don't know this, then this will be an education. If you do know it, then this is just a reminder. This is the .com bubble, Amazon. Oh my God, I'm so rich. Sell off. Everybody loses their mind. And this wasn't a small sell-off. I mean, look at that. That is a 95% sell-off. And then it took, let's see how long it took. This is a weekly chart. It took basically from here all the way to here. So 2,000, basically 3,000 days, which is what, 10 years? Yeah, 9 years.
Wow.
01 to before it reached that peak again. And it didn't stop there. Look at that. That's $5. We're at $2.31 today on Amazon, because people are tried and true. And, those that are long-term holders, they pick the right plays and they stick with them forever. So I think the biggest lesson this year has taught a lot of people is how fickle, even as strong as a holder as you might be, how fickle the crypto ecosystem is with a change in the 4-hour chart. Man, put it on the weekly, find some conviction and allocate to things that you're willing to hold for 5 years, and be very constructive about separating your portfolio if you're going to trade with a much smaller allocation to trading, so you don't get yourself in a jam where you end up with nothing. Because I mean, we are in the middle of this fourth turning. I do believe that. And they're going to do everything they can to shake out the players, and institutions and smart money are going to win again. You could win too. You just have to take an institutional stance, meaning you're not trading your portfolio on a 15-minute chart.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like you said, we have a balance, and trading is how I've made new Tether to continue adding to the positions that I like. And I also want to give a shout out to the Quant. He printed more Tether for our Discord community with call this morning on Injective, shorting Injective. That is up huge from the initial call. He put it in around 4.68 right here, like literally on that candle. And there's some new Tether in our community. So if you want to find ways or learn how to trade with a reasonable amount, not your entire portfolio, I do suggest you get in there and get those trade calls, because they go pretty damn good. It's helped me a lot on the way downhill since the previous all-time high of Bitcoin to make that new money, and there's pain out there. Like Tom Lee, he's sitting on $3.5 billion in unrealized losses on the Ethereum as things sit right now. Not a great situation, not a good thing to see. Is this going to be a failed experiment? Do you think? Like, what's your vibe of Tom Lee? Because he's been saying some like insanely high price targets in a short amount of time. And I get it, crypto can move fast, but like, read the room. It's kind of like how I felt about him lately. I mean, is it possible he digs himself out and he's like some amazing leader like Saylor is for Ethereum?
I think Bitmine or whatever it's called is going to do fine. I don't know how quick. I'm reluctant to say, here's the deal. You look back in history on Bitcoin and you see very quick periods of times, like 45 days. It's like 45 days. Every cycle makes 90% of the gains of the entire cycle. So things can flip very quickly. So it's very, it could be possible that I'm not saying it's going to happen. So, but I'll say this, it's possible for Ethereum to be $15,000 in 3 months, 5 months. It's possible, very possible, but I don't think it's super likely because there's this friction right now of, we all know the technology is there and it should displace everything, but it's very hard to displace entrenched systems in medical and finance and governments, where, remember, the financial sector has used the same operating system since the 70s. So in order to unwind that and step into a new system, it takes a bit of work beyond, yes, that's a great technology. It's like, shit, it's like, it's like rebuilding a car while you're in the car and having to replace the entire chassis. How the hell do you do it? You got to do it very carefully. But for those that are patient and realize that this technology is very, very much so going to replumb the infrastructure of the world in many different ways, not just finance, but transaction, culture, communication, verifiability, transparency with governments, so much. It's going to take a little bit of time to really get that move underway. So I think we need to be patient with some chop, these periods where it's not moving like we want. I do think there's going to be an inflection point in the next, I would say within the next two years, that you start seeing what is overwhelming boringness, that all of a sudden you get like this S curve of adoption that just the dam can't hold Bitcoin down any longer, and you get it moving. And Ethereum, the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like you said, things can move quickly, in crypto, and as we've seen in the silver price as well. This is kind of crazy to see. So $5 in pre-1965 dimes now contains $287 worth of silver, right? This is absolutely insane. I mean, honestly, it's a foreboding canary in the coal mine for me, Kelly. Like, yeah, I completely agree with what you said earlier, that silver and gold are long-term hedges against failure of fiat. And so they've been around for a really long time. They're hard metals. People are used to going into them when they're worried about their dollar in any culture. I think that money is going to flow down into risk assets as people realize that you need to hold hard assets to have any chance of outpacing the amount of money that's about to be printed via wars, crop failures, all of those things. Yeah, the wars are going off.
But you got a story on that as well. Wasn't
yes,
wasn't there a little abomination going on, some abominations going on in some residencies of some
it's not good.
Some topless horseback riders?
It's not good. Let's pull it up here. I mean, you mentioned it. So Russia and Putin say that Ukraine tried to attack Vladimir Putin's residence in the Novgorod region, vows to retaliate. This as their soft-sided, hey, America, why don't you use this power plant we got and you can mine Bitcoin here. We're back and forth between Trump and Putin. But it's almost like an unshakable relationship that we have with NATO and Bibi. Bibi is at the White House literally as we speak right now. Trump just said he's going to give him a pardon. So this is a situation that doesn't seem to be cooling down by any effect. And also China has about 89 Navy vessels around the island of Taiwan right now, which, might play into the NVIDIA concerns that I talked about last week. But, as things sit right now, yeah, Jay knows. He knows.
Well, on that note, I hope this isn't a correlation that's going to happen in crypto, but we talked about Amazon earlier. You just brought up NVIDIA. Check out this NVIDIA chart. Okay. This NVIDIA chart shows the dot-com bubble, the sell-off, boom, right? The crash, 90+%. And then I want you to notice, if you just measure this across until this actually breaks out of this huge range, there's really just a range. This took basically, let's see, from 2001 to 2016. So 15 years of run up, major sell-off, sideways, cannot get back above. This was just, nothing's going to happen. But this is a technology that the world did not fully realize the value of GPU processing and what was getting developed. Now, AI and the discussion of AI didn't start here in 2016. The discussion on AI, it's new on all of our minds because we're seeing it in the news all the time, and we actually have accessibility of how we can utilize it ourselves. But they've been developing different AI systems all the way back into the 90s, right? But this is where you start getting sort of a critical mass awareness and also the technological deliverability, product market fit, gaming also. But then boom, I mean, this is a 300,000% game from boom. When this was over, Nvidia's dead. Look at that, 333,000% gain. So my question to you is, on its sell-off right now, when everything on the landscape of what's looking forward for the crypto ecosystem, and we're seeing wars and we're seeing tariffs and we're seeing the stuff that's affecting near-term fear, but we see what's happening into the future. I'm not going to be somebody that's the type that sells something right here unless it's a super speculative asset that I don't see any sort of real utility or use case that's going to not be developed over.
Right. And the chat is bringing up there's so, look at the uncertainty. So the U.S. just attacked Venezuela at a drug port with labs in it.
Right on.
This is crazy. Like the amount of uncertainty we're in right now is absolutely nuts. We have the Venezuela U.S. movements. We have Taiwan being surrounded by China's Navy right now. And also Iran has verified they consider a full-scale war with the US, Israel, and Europe. So all these things are happening at the same time. And really it's going to be a crazy time to stay focused, but I think it's really, really important to stay focused because they say how great the economy is. The average person is getting crushed. Just because the economy is going up to the right in terms of stock market doesn't mean that people are doing okay. It's just a great decoupling from humanity and the economy that's happening right now. I really want to take a look. Kelly, can we pull up and kind of dissect what the others chart looks like right now? I'm a little scared to look at it, but I always love your analysis on the others chart. And I haven't looked at it all break. So I want to just take a glance. And should I be scared? Should I be scared about this?
I mean, let's look at it. Right. Let's actually go to my other one here. Boom. All right. Let's go to others. All right. So remember, we've been looking at this on the previous price action of what we saw back in 2019. Run up, sell off, deviation up, deviation down, crash, launch. Very similar. Run up, breakdown, deviation up. Kind of a weird thing here, but then the crash, very almost same price action. We all want the green line. We want this, but it's not doing that at all. It's actually following this purple line, which this would suck for people holding altcoins, especially things outside of the top 10. That's what the others is. It's everything outside of the top 10. That's how easy it is to understand, guys. If this continues to break down, this is going to suck for a good portion of the degens in the market. I don't think this is going to happen. I think this, if we do get a little bit more weakness, I think we are going to have some form of a run in the space when we have less uncertainty in the market, which just doesn't seem to get cleared up at all. I don't know if it's going to take tax season or bigger rebates or stimulus or money printing or what, but I think we all would like to see this at minimum number 4, but more likely up here, like somewhere in this region up here. But this is not looking good as it sits. Money flow down on the 3-day. RSI is basically near a bottom, much like it was here before this slight little run up. I mean, I don't see anything near-term bullish on it this week.
That looks scary as all get out because that's not like there's no sort of V-shaped recovery design to that. Just looking at this from afar, I mean, it looks like just failed breakup, get beat down a little bit more, failed breakup, beat down a little bit more.
I mean, the nearest term I would look at is putting a trend line like here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me make that a little bit brighter. Just going to put a happy bush here, just a happy bush. Yeah, we do have a bit of a trend line here. You'd want to get above this, find support, and then continue. But as it stands right now, RSI, it needs to find comfort. It has broken above the 50 line and needs to find some support here. Like on this small little retrace, we need to find support here and continue up. if this is going to have a shot. Because if this pushes up and the RSI is headed down, that means weakness is coming in as price is trapping people. So we need to see this breakout and the RSI be moving up and the money flow positive as well. And we have just completely mixed signals.
Well, and let's just take the kind of scary position on this, just to be prepared for chaos and hell. So let's say that the market continues to flush to the downside. Bitcoin doesn't have a chance to ever break up back above into the 100K zone, and that others chart continues to fall and alts fall along with the rest of the market. You brought up the XRP chart slightly. Now, in the term of XRP, I really feel like I'm surrounded by more retail people that hold XRP than anything else, any other altcoin out there. So, is there a point in the potential collapse of XRP's price where you would get interested in getting a little bit of exposure to it? Like, what do you see on this?
Well, chart? the bullish, there is a bullish narrative to unpack a little bit here. We have this downtrend, which is very downtrend, right? Lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low. And at the same time, we've got from this point right here, I'm just going to put a mark there. We do have the RSI. There's a little bit of a bullish divergence here. As you can see, higher lows on RSI, much lower lows on price action. If this is able to kind of round out here, we still have some areas to tackle. If this gets a little bit of a pump, I'd be watching very strong at the $2 mark because it's a round number, but also this 211, which is rejection support right here. And the next level up would be right here at 242, which is a 382 of that larger move. But as it stands, money flow is coming out. We're getting bullish divergence. This needs to see the money flow. Not you're basically dehydrating the flower. It can't grow with no water. We need some water in this mother if we want it to grow. So the setup's starting to be there, but it's not there yet.
Gotcha. Okay. And those are good levels to just look out for in this environment. Like, it's fake out to the upside and then further down. So I'm going to watch out for a short at the dollar. Is it $1.96 and then $2.11? That's the highlighted mark right there.
Yeah, this is, I mean, it's at it right now. That's a line that's already been there. This is $1.95, which is all, I mean, it's kind of low, 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 low. We had a deviation beyond this, but and then a rejection. So if we get a little bit of a pump here, I'd be hesitant to buy before this because this very likely could get rejected. I want to see a run up support, and then next level it up, I'd be watching is 212.
Yeah. And in general, like what you just laid out, when I will combined our information on the show today, Kelly, I really feel like the forced injection of liquidity to backstop the banks from going insolvent is going to play out very similarly to the March of 2023 timeframe. I really do feel that. I mean, this is what is the M2 money supply hitting all-time highs?
It's hitting new all-time high after new all-time high every month. The fact that global money printing is going higher and only scheduled to go higher from here into the first half of the year and beyond, and people are talking about Bitcoin's top is in. No, that you are getting trapped if you believe that. I really do believe that to be the case, because there's something else that you talk about regularly, and that's basically the production cost. Bitcoin has never spent a large amount of time on the lower end of this production cost. This was the low right here on the 2017 into 2019 low. Look, tapped right into it. Here's a COVID crash, tapped right into it. Here's the the cascading failures in 2022. Tap the top side, boom, topped almost to the bottom side, launch. Yet again, we're sitting right in those levels, similar to this chart that I talk about, energy value, which is similar to what we're talking about with production cost. Look at how low this reading was, and where was that? That was the bottoming setup and the start of the bull run. COVID crash, we also got it. This little bottom just before the COVID crash, got it. The bottom of 2019, got it. Here we are again at the same setup that is called for large moves. We even had one right here on this dip right here where everybody was sure that it was over. We have that, we see that dipped right into the green. So there's a lot of things right now outside of just looking at the candles on the chart and being excited or scared. The data is saying the setup is here for those that are willing to buy the fear.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are a couple coins that I feel like buying, and I bought a little bit. A little dangerous. I know that. I'm not in back up the truck mode, but there are a couple coins that I bought a little piece of. And really in this environment, I got to. What you got?
I looked up earlier and I do not in any way advise buying this coin. In fact, I'm telling you not to. But I was just like, you know what? With all this stuff going on with Nick Shirley, I got to see if there's a Learing coin. You know, Learing, because I can't spell learning at a learning facility. And there is a Learing coin, and in the last 2 days, it's up like 24,000%. So this market is so hungry to degen. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like something that's primed to rug now that it's made good money, you know. Just be careful out there. Like in looking at the coin market cap listings, you know, there's some gems within this pain. So looking at things on sale right now, I'm just kind of going down. I think the juice has been squeezed out of Aster largely. Pump Fun under investigation in the SEC. Not looking good. Not looking good here, folks. Quant surprisingly holding up near its $100 peg. That's $70. Not horrible on Quant. Monero has performed better than a vast majority of other altcoins as a privacy-focused coin. I don't hate Monero at all. Cardano at 35 cents makes me want to puke. Okay, so this, I don't want to buy it. I want people that hold it to succeed. I'm going to do everything I can, but I can't do much. I can cheer for you from the sidelines. Injective, I've moved on from the injective move. I'm not interested. Near, not interested. I do hold a little pudgy at these extreme lows. Aave has got to figure out its internal voting civil war between the DAO and Aave Labs. So I'm not, you know what? The problem that's going on with Aave is actually playing positively into my actual bag, which is Morpho, which is the second biggest lender out in crypto, which is absorbing some of the interest in lending because of all the uncertainty with Aave. So really, I mean, there's
even
not
people
much.
like Gary Cardone use Morpho to take loans against his Bitcoin.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, the word's getting out. Gary Cardone using Morpho, I'm looking for something on sale that I like. You know, maybe virtuals, but you got to wonder if the AI agent, just general upswing is really over with. Hedera, I think, has better upside than XRP or Cardano. I think Hedera, even though it's chaotic and it's an old coin, something about it tells me that it's got juice in the tank. Stellar, I also feel the same way. I think Hedera and Stellar will perform better than XRP. And they're in kind of the same field of ISO, you know, communications coins. Avalanche, if you lose this zone right now, we might be looking at $8 Avalanche soon. There is, you know, a couple like Chainlink. I'll buy more Chainlink if it goes under $10. Canton Network is one I added to that's actually really up because of my adding to the position. So I'm feeling great about Canton Network. I have an interview with the co-founder of Canton coming up, which I'm super excited about as well. It's up by 44% this week. It's not doing too bad. Target on Solana is about $80 if I can get a nice back up the truck moment there. And then I bought a little bit of Betensor Tau. So I'm still out there buying, and of course Bitcoin. You know, but just being very selective. I'm not just trying to grab all the big red spots, all the big downturns in altcoins, because I think things have shifted. And what Mike Novogratz warned about, I think there's a degree of truth behind it, that you can't just be a crowd favorite anymore in crypto. You have to bring utility. You have to bring use case to the table to actually succeed. That's it. I think we are at the point in crypto and altcoins in their, you know, kind of upbringing where we're going to see that .com washout, where the Amazon and Nvidia will get hit the same way. But a lot of those .com companies went out and were completely, they just vanished, right? Like they just were absorbed. They went away. People lost tons of money speculating on anything and everything under the .com bubble sun. And that's where we just have to be careful and pick winners, especially going into the uncertainty of next year.
Yeah, and I wanted to highlight a chart that DZ did just before we go as a reminder. And I'm not going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about this. I closed it out. My bad. The fear. Oh, here it is. Yeah, the fear. A lot of fear. There was a lot of fear that came in here, and of course, we're in a lot of fear right there. But when you're looking at that, where did that chart go? Right here. What do you notice? These are those peak fear areas that we just talked about. Well, what were the longs doing on the institute, like the OG players that really know how to manage money? Longs were, they were just stacking into all the fear, Here we are again on a larger scale than we've seen these previous two times, more longs coming in than we've seen in the previous two times before the run-ups. Now, to put that into perspective, if we go to Bitcoin, I just want to show you something, guys. I want you all to see this. I want you all to realize that this is that time right here from that low where they're stacking from about over here all the way across. That was a 113% move. This time right here from that low was a 70% move. So I'm not saying we're going to get 113 or 70%. I'm saying that the data shows from money printing, from gold and silver rising, from the conditions of what we've outlined as what is very likely to happen in 2026, and the fact that we're getting these Bitfinex OG people that understand the market longs coming in here at a larger pace than we saw in the previous prior to the previous two run-ups. Something bullish is going to happen here, and it's going to unwind this fear narrative very quickly when it happens.
Well, the crazy part is people are trying to tap out at the worst time where we're getting near the production cost of Bitcoin. We're seeing a verifiable need and a guarantee basically from the central bank and the FDIC that they're going to inject an ass load of money into the system. We see it with gold and silver. It's playing out. Just stay focused. Okay. Stay focused. Appreciate we are living another day. We're here to make the new money. And, you know, not all tides or not all ships are going to rise with the tide, but we can find the plays that will get there. Bitcoin to a 200K is easy play, man. Easy play. I'd say Bitcoin can be $1 million by 2030 at the current adoption. So if we just stop living and breathing and dying by the 15-minute chart and just look at the long term, I think we're going to be all right.
Don't let the 15-minute chart trade affect your long-term position. That's
right. Absolutely, man. Well, appreciate you being on the show with me, Kelly. Everyone out in the chat, take that long-term stance, find the winners, and keep your crypto on cold storage. We'll see.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.